Hello and welcome back to English Book Club. My name is Kathy. I teach English to ESOL students in the UK, and I also have a background in literacy and English literature. If you're interested in learning more about popular fiction and developing your English skills at the same time, well, maybe this series of videos is for you. If it's useful, do tell me more about yourself in the comments below. Now today, I want to talk about something that has atmosphere and suspense. Atmosphere is a word that quite often means the feeling or mood of a place or situation. And it's something that writers are quite good at creating in stories. Suspense is a feeling of not being sure when or if something is going to happen. This makes you feel excited, like children with birthdays. But you can also feel anxious or even scared. And the book we're talking about today has plenty of both atmosphere and suspense. You will have seen the title of this video already, so how much do you know about Dracula? I'm showing you now some pictures of a place I visited in the summer, which is in the north of England, in the county of Yorkshire. It's a town called Whitby, which is on the east coast, and it's quite famous locally for its enormous number of fish and chip shops. And it's true, everywhere you go, you will see people eating fish and chips, which just proves, yes, it is one of the most popular British meals. Now the town is lively and busy. It has a lot of gift shops, and as you make your way through the street of gift shops, you come to a set of steps, 199 to be exact, and if you go up those steps high above the town, you will come to a lonely church and graveyard overlooking the sea. Are you feeling any suspense yet? Are you wondering what will happen next? If you stand amongst the graves and listen to the wind blowing and look down to the sea below, you could imagine yourself in a story. And this story is a very famous one. You can go into the church. It's old and rather beautiful inside, but on the door at the entrance, you will see this little poster. Please do not ask staff where Dracula's grave is, as there isn't one. Surprise! And look, there's a bit more information above in the second poster, which starts with this. Sorry, it's not here. Where is Dracula's grave? Do you know, we are asked this question more than any other by visitors to this church. In fact, it's not anywhere, because Dracula is fiction. Now, this was clearly a surprise to some of the visitors near me that day, but Whitby is a really popular place to go for Dracula fans as well as fish and chip lovers. You can visit the incredibly beautiful ruins of Whitby Abbey, which are just past the church. And the gift shops all have a selection of Dracula memorabilia you can buy. There's even a Dracula museum, but I didn't have time to go in it. Maybe next time. If you walk around the Abbey, you can just imagine yourself back in a story full of fear and darkness. So let's talk about Dracula. Dracula is a novel written by Bram Stoker, and it was published in 1897. Bram Stoker was a theatre manager, but he also wrote a number of novels, and Dracula is his most famous story. Now, you can read an endless amount of research of how he created his story and the themes that he wrote about, and we are going to cover the basic details. Once again, if you'd like more information, then it's over to you to do some of your own research. The novel is written in the form of diaries and letters from different characters in the story. It takes place partly in areas of Romania, sometimes known as Transylvania, and also in Whitby in England. It begins with a young solicitor's clerk called Jonathan Harker, who travels to Romania for a business transaction. This is where he meets Count Dracula and discovers some strange details about his client. He feels anxious and unsure. No surprise then that he becomes imprisoned in the Count's castle whilst the Count travels to Whitby in England. The story then starts to involve Jonathan's fiancée Mina and her friend Lucy. Beyond that, of course, I can't tell you the plot. You will have to find out that for yourselves. It's generally thought that as Bram Stoker went on holiday to Whitby, he was inspired by its views, its locations and grandeur, and he researched a lot of information for his story in Whitby Library, including finding the name Dracul and Drac, which in Romanian means devil. Similarly, he set the beginning of his story in the region of Transylvania, Romania, based on true historical figures and inspired by the beauty of the Carpathian Mountains. But Romanian people will tell you that the story is an invention. When the novel was published, it was very popular. It's been classified as an example of Gothic fiction, which you might remember are stories generally set in dark, frightening locations. There's usually a terrified heroine escaping an evil villain, and Dracula has come to represent a classic evil villain, usually shown as tall, dark, forceful, and the novel itself is seen as a battle between the forces of good and evil. So, of course, some of the themes represented in the book are ideas about the supernatural. It's not necessarily the first book that introduced the concept of the vampire, an undead creature that survives by drinking the blood of others. There are lots of other now very famous ideas for fighting vampires, such as using holy water, garlic, crosses, beheading, and of course the ever popular stake through the heart. Lovely. All of these ideas have been used and adapted in many films, stories and TV series. Does anyone remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I certainly do. Now, that was a great series. Some of the original British Hammer horror films featured a famous actor named Christopher Lee. Here he is. His style certainly captured the popular imagination. There was also a film made in the 1990s called Bram Stoker's Dracula, featuring well-known actors Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. And of course, the most recent vampire adaptations to film have been Stephenie Meyer's Twilight series, starring Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, bringing the story for noble versus not so nice vampires into current times. Other themes discussed in research about this story include the role of sexuality and gender, especially the role of the woman in, again, Victorian society, and themes of racism, especially a fear of other unknown nationalities, and an examination of tradition and religion versus superstition. Now, if you don't like your stories dark, then maybe Dracula is not for you, but it's certainly a chilling masterclass in how to build suspense and atmosphere. If you're interested in Dracula, then in part 2 of this series, I will read some short extracts from the original novel and look at some of the language used in the story. I decided to split talking about books into 2 parts sometimes in my videos. So in the first, I will always introduce the story and the ideas, and in the second, I will look at some of the language used. I hope you like it. And as ever, like and subscribe to this channel, and then you'll know when the next video comes out. Bye for now. And don't forget to do some reading. See you next time.